Chapter 3. Issue of shares. Question 7. Answer the following questions. 8 marks each. 1. Explain the classification of share capital. Answer. Share capital of a joint stock company is made up of equity shares and preference shares. The classification of share capital can be explained as under: A. Authorized, or nominal, or registered capital. Authorized capital is the maximum amount of capital which a company is authorized to raise by issuing shares. This capital is mentioned in the capital clause of Memorandum of Association, and this Memorandum of Association is registered with Registrar of Companies after paying requisite stamp duty. Therefore, it is also called as registered capital. Authorized capital is calculated considering the requirements of capital at present and in future. Hence, the entire amount is not collected at a time, but as per the needs subsequently. Therefore, it is also called as nominal capital. In the books of ABC Company Limited, authorized, or nominal, or registered capital, 2 lakhs equity shares into rupees 10 each is equal to rupees 20 lakhs. Issued capital, 80,000 equity shares into rupees 10 each is equal to rupees 8 lakhs. Unissued capital, 1,20,000 equity shares into rupees 10 each is equal to rupees 12 lakhs. Subscribed capital, 60,000 equity shares into rupees 10 each is equal to rupees 6 lakhs. Unsubscribed capital, 20,000 equity shares into rupees 10 each is equal to rupees 2 lakhs. Called up capital, 60,000 equity shares into rupees 5 each is equal to rupees 3 lakhs. Uncalled capital, 60,000 equity shares into rupees 4 each is equal to rupees 2,40,000. Reserve capital, 60,000 equity shares into rupee 1 each is equal to rupees 60,000. Paid up capital, 40,000 equity shares into rupees 5 each is equal to rupees 2 lakhs. Calls in arrears, 20,000 equity shares into rupees 5 each is equal to rupees 50,000. If the company intends to raise more than the authorized capital, it has to make necessary alterations in the Memorandum of Association and must take the approval of the concerned government authorities. For example, in the above chart, ABC Company Limited has an authorized capital of rupees 20 lakhs divided into 2 lakhs equity shares of rupees 10 each. B. Issued and unissued capital. Issued capital is that part of authorized capital which is actually offered by the company to the public for subscription. Usually, it is less than the authorized capital, as the whole of the authorized capital is generally not issued initially. Unissued capital is that part of the authorized capital which is not issued to the public for subscription. It can be issued by the company as and when required. For example, in the given chart, out of 2 lakhs shares, the company has issued 80,000 shares of rupees 10 each, and hence, its issued capital is rupees 8 lakhs. It also shows that 1,20,000 shares of rupees 10 each have not been issued, and hence, unissued capital of the company is rupees 12 lakhs. C. Subscribed and unsubscribed capital. Subscribed capital is that part of issued capital which has been subscribed or purchased by the investors. It is the response given by the public. The part of the issued capital which is not subscribed or purchased by the investors is called as unsubscribed capital. The public may or may not subscribe the entire issued capital offered by the company, and hence, subscribed capital may be equal to or less than the issued capital. For example, in the given chart, ABC Company Limited has issued 80,000 shares of rupees 10 each to the public for subscription, out of which public have subscribed only 60,000 shares. Hence, subscribed capital is rupees 6 lakhs and unsubscribed capital is rupees 2 lakhs. D. Called up capital, uncalled capital, and reserve capital. Generally, a company collects the subscribed capital in installments, and each installment is termed as calls. Called up capital is that part of the subscribed capital which is actually called up or demanded by the company from the shareholders. The balance of the subscribed capital, which is not yet demanded by the company from the shareholders, is called uncalled capital. Reserve capital is that part of uncalled capital which is not called during the lifetime of the company. It is to be called only at the time of winding up of the company. This amount is to meet financial requirements at the time of winding up. For example, in the given chart, ABC Company Limited has called rupees 5 per share from the shareholders holding 60,000 shares, and hence, the called up capital is rupees 3 lakhs. The company has kept aside rupee 1 per share on 60,000 shares to be collected at the time of winding up, and hence, the reserve capital is rupees 60,000. Similarly, company will call rupees 4 per share in future from shareholders holding 60,000 shares, and hence, uncalled capital is rupees 2,40,000. E. Paid up capital and calls in arrears. Paid up capital is that part of the called up capital which is actually paid by the shareholders to the company in response to its call. The amount which is not paid up by the shareholders in response to the call is called calls in arrears or unpaid capital. Failure to pay the calls may lead to forfeiture of shares. For example, in the given chart, ABC Company Limited has called rupees 5 per share from shareholders holding 60,000 shares. Shareholders holding 40,000 shares have paid the call, and shareholders holding 20,000 shares have failed to pay the call. Hence, paid up capital is rupees 1 lakh, and calls in arrears or unpaid capital is rupees 1 lakh. 2. Explain the two methods a company can use to make its public offer of shares. Answer. In a public issue or public offer, a company offers the shares for sale in order to raise capital, for which it issues prospectus. It is the most commonly used method by companies. A company can use two pricing methods to offer shares to the public. A. Fixed price issue method. Under fixed price, the company going for public issue of shares determines a fixed price at which its shares are offered to investors. The quantity and the price at which the shares are offered is stated in the prospectus of the company. Company can issue shares at par or at premium. The investors are asked to pay a certain portion of the issue price or the entire issue price along with the application for shares. The company can know the demand for its shares only after close of the issue. This method is used for all types of shares, such as public issue, right issue, ESOS, etc. B. Book building method. Book building is a process of price discovery. It is a method under which the issuer company determines the number of shares and the issue price at which its shares will be sold by bidding process. The company issues a red herring prospectus wherein price range or price band is mentioned, and the investors are asked to bid on it. The lower end of the price band is called as floor price, and the upper end is called as cap price or ceiling price. The final price, at which shares are offered to the investors, is called as cut-off price. Bidding is kept open for 5 days, during which period bids are collected from investors at various prices which are above or equal to the floor price. The bids, along with the application money, are to be submitted to the lead merchant bankers, called as book runners, who enters the bids in a book. After the bidding process is complete, the cut-off price is arrived at, based on the highest or best price, at which all shares on offer can be sold. The final prospectus, with all details, including the final issue price and the issue size, is filed with the Registrar of Companies and issued to the public. This method is used for public issues, that is IPO and FPO. 3. Explain briefly the different types of shares offered by a company to its existing equity shareholders. Answer. The following types of shares are offered by a company to its existing equity shareholders. 1. Right issue. Whenever a company proposes to increase its subscribed capital by issuing further shares, it can offer those shares to the existing equity shareholders in their existing proportion. Such an issue is called as rights issue of shares. The existing equity shareholders have preemptive rights to subscribe the new shares offered by the company. It is nothing but private placement of shares. Provisions for right issue of shares. Following provisions are to be fulfilled by the company making right issue. A. Rights shares are sold to the existing shareholders at a price which is lesser than its market price. B. A letter of offer has to be sent by the company offering right shares to the existing shareholders. C. The letter of offer shall contain the following information. 1. The number of shares offered. 2. The period of offer, that is, the period of offer shall not be less than 15 days and more than 30 days from the date of offer. 3. The right to renounce, that is, the shareholders have a right to give up their shares in favor of any other person. D. This letter of offer can be sent by registered post, speed post, courier, or through electronic mode. E. If a shareholder does not respond to the rights issue within the period of the offer, the company can offer his shares to new investors. F. The company must raise minimum subscription, that is 90% of the issue. 2. Bonus issue, or bonus shares. Bonus shares are the fully paid shares, issued free of cost, or as a gift, to the existing equity shareholders, by the company, out of its accumulated, or undistributed profits, or reserves. The reputation of the company, and market value of its shares, increases, if a company issues bonus shares. Bonus shares enjoy the same rights as equity shares, like voting rights, receiving dividend, etc. It is the process of converting undistributed profits into share capital. Hence, it is also called as capitalization of reserves or profits. Provisions for issue of bonus shares. A. Bonus shares can be issued only out of free reserves, or securities premium account, or capital redemption reserve account. B. Company cannot issue bonus shares out of reserves created by revaluation of assets. C. Company cannot issue bonus shares instead of dividend. D. Once the announcement of bonus shares is made by the company, it cannot be revoked or withdrawn. E. Company can issue only fully paid bonus shares. F. Shareholders cannot renounce, that is, give away their bonus shares to another person. G. Minimum subscription criteria does not apply to bonus shares. 4. Explain the statutory provisions for allotment of shares. Answer. Allotment of shares means giving or distributing shares to share applicants or to specific persons with whom company has entered into contracts. After allotment, a share applicant becomes a shareholder of the company. Thus, it gives rise to a contractual relationship between the shareholder and the company. The shareholder becomes liable to pay the unpaid balance on shares, and the company is obliged to give him rights of membership. Every company issuing shares have to comply with the provisions of the Companies Act 2013 with regard to allotment of shares. If it is a public company, it has also to follow the Companies, Prospectus and Allotment of Securities, Rules 2014, and SEBI, Issue of Capital and Disclosure Requirements, Regulations 2018. These are the statutory provisions for allotment of shares, which are as under. 1. Registration of prospectus. The company has to file a copy of the prospectus with the Registrar of Companies for registration on or before the date of its publication. The prospectus must be signed by every person whose name has been mentioned in the prospectus as a director or proposed director or his duly authorized advocate. 2. Application money. Along with the application form, the applicant has to pay a minimum of 5% of the nominal amount of shares or such other amount as specified by SEBI. For public companies, SEBI has specified the minimum application money as 25% of the nominal amount of shares. This application money is to be deposited in the bank specified by the company. 3. Minimum subscription. Minimum subscription is the minimum amount of shares stated in the that must be taken or bought by the subscribers to enable the company to run the business. As per SEBI guidelines, minimum subscription should be 90% of the issue, and it must be collected within 30 days from the date of issue of prospectus. If the company fails to collect the minimum subscription within the specified time, then the entire amount received as application money should be returned to the subscribers within 15 days of the closure of issue. In order to avoid this situation, company enters into an underwriting agreement with the underwriters. 4. Closing of subscription list. As per SEBI guidelines, the subscription list must be kept open for at least 3 working days and not more than 10 working days. Applicants have to apply for shares within this period only. 5. Basis of allotment. Allotment will be done as per the minimum application size and on the basis which will be decided for each category of subscribers. 6. Oversubscription. The issue is said to be oversubscribed when the company receives applications for more number of shares than it has actually invited. SEBI does not allow any allotment in excess of securities offered through prospectus. 7. Permission to deal on stock exchange. Before making a public offer, the company has to apply to one or more recognized stock exchanges for listing its shares with them. The name of the stock exchange and its permission to list its shares with them shall be mentioned in the prospectus. 8. Appointment of managers to the issue and various other agencies. The company has to appoint one or more merchant bankers to act as managers to the public issue. It has also to appoint registrar to the issue, collecting bankers, underwriters, and brokers to the issue, self-certified syndicate banks, etc. 5. Explain briefly the procedure for allotment of shares. Answer. Allotment of shares means giving or distributing shares to share applicants or to specific persons with whom company has entered into contracts. After allotment, a share applicant becomes a shareholder of the company. Thus, it gives rise to a contractual relationship between the shareholder and the company. The shareholder becomes liable to pay the unpaid balance on shares, and the company is obliged to give him rights of membership. Following is the procedure for allotment of shares. 1. Appointment of allotment committee. After the close of the subscription list, the Secretary prepares a share application list and places the same before the Board of Directors. If the issue is undersubscribed or par-subscribed, the allotment can be done by the Board. However, if the issue is oversubscribed, the Board has to appoint a separate allotment committee for deciding the basis of. The allotment committee submits a report to the Board. 2. Hold Board meeting to decide basis of allotment. In case the issue is oversubscribed, the SEBI nominated representative is required to be present to approve the basis of allotment. After receiving the report from the allotment committee, Board meeting is held to approve the basis of allotment recommended by the committee. If the shares are listed, the formula has also to be approved by the concerned stock exchange. 3. Pass Board resolution for allotment. At the Board meeting, a resolution is passed for allotment of shares. The resolution also authorizes the Secretary to send the letters of allotment to allottees whose names appear in the application and allotment list. He has also to send letters of regret along with refund order to those applicants to whom no shares have been allotted. If the company issues shares in electronic mode, it informs the respective depository about the allotment of shares. It need not issue letter of allotment. 4. Collection of allotment money. The letter of allotment sent to the allottees states the money to be paid by them on allotment of shares. The allotment money has to be paid in the bank specified by the company within the stipulated time. From January 2016, for public issue and right issue, applications supported by blocked account (ASBA) is now mandatory. 5. Arrangement relating to letters of renunciation. An applicant who has been allotted shares can renounce the shares in favor of another person. For this, he has to fill up a renunciation form and submit it to the company along with the original copy of the letter of allotment. Secretary enters the name of the new allottee in the application and allotment list after approval from the Board. 6. Arrangement relating to splitting of allotment letters. Splitting means putting the shares in one or more names. An allottee can request the company for splitting of allotment letters. After getting the approval from the Board, the Secretary enters the details of the split in the list of split allotments and issues split letters of allotment. 7. File return of allotment. Secretary has to file a return of allotment with the Registrar of Companies within 30 days of allotment of shares. It contains the details of the names and addresses of allottees, value of shares allotted, amount paid or payable on shares, etc. 8. Prepare register of members and issue share certificates. Secretary has to enter the names of all applicants who have paid the allotment money in the register of members. He has also to issue the share certificates to them within 2 months of allotment of shares. In case shares are issued in electronic form, the entries are made by the depository